Welcome back to the channel, everyone. BLN437, and today we're going to go over a few things that you guys need to know going into the winter meetings that just started today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to thank everybody for the support on the Giancarlo Stanton video. I stood up all day, just pretty much going over tweets, going over the reporters, just seeing if the news was going to drop, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So to see the support that I've gotten for that Giancarlo Stanton video makes me very, very happy, and I'm very humble for it. So if you guys haven't checked that video out, I'm going to leave a link down in the description below for you guys to check it out. I go over the move and why I think it's a good move for the Yankees, why I also think there may be some negatives for the Yankees, how it impacts Aaron Boone, why it's a win or bust for the Yankees now at this point, and just pretty much going over, like I said, what that's going to do for the Yankees and the American League East going forward. And before we get on with the video as well, don't forget to like this video at the end if you guys enjoyed it. Comment as well. Let me know what you guys think about the winter meetings up to this point. Which team is going to make that big move during the winter meetings, if that any. And if you are new, don't forget to share and subscribe. And let's get on with this video. So the winter meeting started today, and we already got two big moves. Those two big moves are not really two big moves. One big move, one kind of needed to happen because of the circumstances of that team, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals. They signed Luke Gregerson to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Now, for some of you guys that don't know, Trevor Rosenthal injured his arm at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, that needed Tommy John surgery. They ended up signing Luke Gregerson to kind of take his place as Rosenthal recovers from the Tommy John surgery that he has already had. And I mean, he's a solid guy, good relief pitcher, has closed before. He's going to be decent. He's not going to be a Kenley Jansen or a Aroldis Chapman, but he's going to do the job, and that's all that matters, and he has experience in that role. The other one that dropped today, the other relief pitcher, and this one is bigger to me than Gregerson, is the fact that Brandon Morrow left the Los Angeles Dodgers to join the Chicago Cubs. And man, this deal, to me, in my opinion, it's a 2-year deal. We're still waiting on the details, but if this deal is what people believe it's going to be and what people have reported, the Chicago Cubs are now the favorites to win the National League Championship Series and potentially go into the World Series, in my opinion. They now have him with Tyler Chatwood, and if they can re-sign Wade Davis, that's a good 8-9 punch. I mean, I don't know how the Dodgers let this one get away. I really don't. I mean, he's a game changer to me out of the bullpen, especially out of that 8th inning. He can get righties, he can get lefties out, throws hard, has a nasty slider, and we all know that was their main problem. They had nobody other than Wade Davis. Now they added a Brandon Morrow, and hey, if you can get anything out of Strop, Rondon, Carl Edwards Jr., and potentially whoever is going to be your left-handed specialist, watch out. Watch out, National League, because the Cubs are going to be right there on everybody to win the NLCS, really. And then, like I said, they could potentially have a Cobb with Chatwood already in the rotation, and Quintana, and Lester, and Hendricks. Oh, man. That's a solid rotation and a solid pen. So, overall, good deal there for the Cubs. Not too much to say there, besides the Dodgers just blew it. I don't know how the Dodgers let Brandon Morrow go. I mean, I guess we'll hear reports later on down the road stating why the Dodgers did not sign him or why they let him go to the Chicago Cubs, whether it was financial issues or just because they felt that they could get somebody else, or they had somebody in place that can do his job, which I personally don't believe is true. But we'll see. We will see. Now let's go over a couple of clubs, or not a couple. Let's go over a few clubs that need to make a move right now, like legitimately right now. And if they're not making a move right now, they need to start making their moves right now as they get ready to enter and eventually leave the winter meetings. And let's start with the obvious one, the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox have now done nothing at all at this point during the offseason. I mean, they were in on Stanton. Unfortunately, they could not get Stanton. Stanton was not on the list of teams that he wanted to go to, so they were pretty much out after that article came out, or that report came out, that Stanton was not interested in them on Thursday. They need power. They were a team that hit decently. They weren't bad offensively. They just didn't hit for power. Benintendi didn't hit for power, that much power. Needed the Mookie Betts, and obviously Jackie Bradley Jr. is not a power hitter. Now, to me, the way that you fix that offensive problem, at least on the power side of things, you sign an Eric Hosmer to a 5-year, $100 million deal, 6-year, $100 million deal, 110, whatever you want to give him. That's in your price range. And if you don't sign him, you got to sign a JD Martinez and move Mookie Betts to center field while having Benintendi play left and JD Martinez play right field. Now, JD Martinez is not the greatest right fielder of all time, at least defensively. And yes, he is getting up there in age, but that's the risk that the Red Sox are going to have to take at this point. The Yankees just took a major risk in getting Giancarlo Stanton and taking on that contract. Now, you got to go out there and do it as well. Their window is slowly but surely closing. Yes, they do have Chris Sale. Yes, they do have, Mookie Betts, Benintendi, Devers, who's going to be a great player. But when you think about it, some of the guys that have really been a big part of those Boston Red Sox teams that have won championships beforehand, Pedroia, obviously Ortiz is retired, and on top of that, Hanley haven't produced. They just haven't. Now, Hanley wasn't part of their championship teams, but he was supposed to be an addition to what would eventually get them a championship team, and he hasn't been that. And yes, maybe the Boston Red Sox are scared to take on a big contract. If you look at the recent contracts in memory over the past 10 years that Boston has taken on, Carl Crawford, Carl Crawford, Pablo Sandoval, and Hanley Ramirez have not worked out at all. And David Price currently hasn't worked out up to this point. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been what the Red Sox expected him to be. And to be honest with you, I think Dave Dombrowski is a very overrated GM. I think that a lot of people, look at him and they think, wow, those Tiger teams were really good a few years back. But you look at that, and Verlander was already there, and that was just homegrown talent and stuff like that. And Dombrowski deals in wanting to make moves, and that's how he is. He's a guy that goes out there and he makes moves, and he hopes that they work out. And right now, they haven't worked out. So hopefully, for the Red Sox sakes, they can find some guys that can hit for some power. Like I said, these deals haven't worked out for them, and their window's closing because Price isn't getting any younger. Pedroia isn't getting any younger. When you get JD Martinez, obviously he won't be any younger, so you got to try to win now with him when you get him, or if they get him. Hosmer is a little bit on the younger side, but he would get older in age. So they got to figure out what they're going to do here and what they're going to do fast. They have a lot of left-handed pitchers, and they need to kind of fix that as well. I mean, when you look at their rotation, Sale, Eduardo Rodriguez, Henry Owens, that's just way too many lefties, especially with a Yankee team that now is right-handed heavy, and you're going to see the Yankees about 12 to 15 times during the upcoming season, and Giancarlo Stanton is now a part of that team. You can't have that many lefties in your team. You need to get another right-handed pitcher, whether that be a Cobb or whether that be somebody on the cheap. They don't have to go crazy. And they're going to have to add some power to this team. They don't have any power, and you're not going to see Pedroia at all either. Pedroia is going to be out for a good portion of the season, at least at the beginning. So maybe signing Eduardo Nunez, even though he is injury prone, is the best bet for them. When he was on the field for them, he was making moves, man. He was playing well. He was hitting, running. I mean, he was just all over the place doing stuff for the Red Sox. So I think re-signing Eduardo Nunez and potentially going out of the winter meetings with at least somewhat of a negotiation in place with JD Martinez and Eric Hosmer is what the Red Sox need to do. As for the next team, the San Francisco Giants, they need to make a move. They were in on Ohtani, they lost out on him. They were in on Stanton, and unfortunately, they had everything in place for Stanton. Stanton just didn't want to come. Whether or not the reports are true that when he went and spoke to the reps in San Francisco that they didn't give him enough to make him think that they were a World Series or a winning caliber team. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Giants do have a lot of good players still. You look at their roster: Belt, Crawford, Posey, Madbum, Cueto, Melanson are all still there, and they all can do damage. And Panic is a decent second baseman. I'm not saying he's great. He's solid, and they all can do some things. Especially Posey. Posey's their best hitter. So for me, him saying no, I just think was more of, if I am going to be in California, I want to be with the Los Angeles Dodgers at home, and just I want to do that. So they lost out on him, and like I said, with Ohtani going to the Angels, they lost out on that as well. And as of right now, the Yankees and the Angels are the two winners of this off season, and they're pretty much the winners right now going into the 2018 season. But they do need to add some guys. Maybe a Domingo Santana from the Brewers. NK Gaming was talking about him. Nick, a couple of reporters were talking about him. Solid guy. He can hit for decent average. I think he hit like 280, 285, 25 home runs with 70 to 80 RBIs, 15 to 20 stolen bases. So he can do some things, man. He's solid, good defender, has some pop, has speed. That's what you need. If you're the San Francisco Giants, you need that. Now, they do need a third baseman. I don't think that Moustakas is the way to go. His swing does not fit at AT&T Ballpark. I mean, he's a great player and all, but they need someone who can do a little bit more than what Moustakas does. And that, to me, I want to say that's potentially a Longoria. If they can get Longoria, and the Rays can be realistic here and understand that they're not going to be contending in the American League East or in the wild card. I mean, Baltimore and Tampa are two teams that realistically need to understand. Well, maybe not so much Baltimore, but the Rays do need to understand that they just realistically they're not better than the Blue Jays. They're definitely not better than the Red Sox or the Yankees. So maybe they go into sell mode and they sell on Longo and they get Longo, and I think that's a solid trade for them if they can get him with a Domingo Santana. That'll be great. The only thing is that the Giants don't have a plethora of prospects. So, what are you going to do there? I mean, if you want to go off of what they can do, since they might not be able to make those trades, maybe re-signing Eduardo Nunez and hoping that he stays healthy, which, I mean, I know is a huge if, but if he can do some things for you. Or maybe signing Moustakas, even though I'm not really sold on Moustakas being at AT&T Ballpark, and see what you can get there, and potentially one of those two guys with a Domingo Santana is the way to go. Mad Bum, I expect to have a bounce back year. Cueto, Melanson, Samardzija, I expect him to be decent, so I'm not really too worried about that. Yeah, they do need another arm in the pen. Who are they going to get out there in the pen? There's not really much out there in the pen. Morrow was just taken. Gregerson was just taken, so they're stuck with whoever they can get, honestly, in the open market for at least bullpen help, and see if they can try to get a Domingo Santana and an Eduardo Nunez or Mike Moustakas or maybe a Longo. We'll see. The next team is the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals, if they really believe that they have a shot at beating the Cubs in that division, they need to make a big splash here. Who that big splash is going to be, I think Marcell Ozuna or Christian Yelich. One of those guys out there in the outfield can do wonders for the St. Louis Cardinals. You got Dexter Fowler, who is a center fielder, but he's starting to get up there in age. Christian Yelich is a little bit younger. Marcell Ozuna is younger as well. Those guys can play center field. Marcell Ozuna can hit for some power. He hits for decent average. And as for Christian Yelich, he's an average hitter that has some decent pop, can get you some steals, plays good defense. So either one you can't go wrong with. I would take Ozuna more so than I would take Yelich. He's a cheaper contract. You can do a little bit more by maybe signing a Lance Lynn or Alex Cobb. You can't let Alex Cobb go to the Cubs. I mean, there's reports that Alex Cobb met with the Chicago Cubs in Chicago, and he enjoyed every bit of that meeting. So the Cubs might potentially have an Alex Cobb to an already decent rotation that has John Lester, Jose Quintana, Kyle Hendricks, and Tyler Chatwood. I mean, so you got to make a move. Like, unless you're willing to admit that you're going to take the wild card spot, which was taken by two NL West teams, Cardinals got to make a big splash here and make it now with a Marcell Ozuna and a bullpen piece and maybe another starting pitcher in their rotation. The next team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I just mentioned the Los Angeles Dodgers when I was talking about Brandon Morrow. That's a huge loss, completely. That was, to me, their 8th inning guy that had a great fastball and a great slider, and he could get both righties and lefties out, like I said before. And to lose him and not sign him back for whatever reason, whether it was financial or whether they just felt that they were going to be okay without him, I don't know. It's still not a good move. It's not a good sign. It doesn't look good there for the Dodger fans. I think a lot of Dodger fans are now starting to kind of worry and kind of get into panic mode. They didn't get Stanton. You didn't keep Morrow, and you haven't, as of right now, been active in any type of talks when it comes to a starting pitcher. Now, I personally believe that it is due to the financial contracts. I mean, when you look at their payroll, look at the guys that are on their payroll. Kazmir hasn't lived up to any of that contract that he got. Neither has Brandon McCartney. Agon is at the end of his career, and he's just taking up money in space. And then on top of that, you just got done finishing paying Carl Crawford and that deal and a couple of others that you had when you were making these big trades over the past few years. So overall, they just need to me, they do need to get a starting pitcher. Who that starting pitcher may be, maybe a Lance Lynn. He's cheap in the sense of you won't have to spend as much as you would for a Jake Arrieta or a Hugh Darvish. I do think you can sign Hugh Darvish and maybe get him on the cheap. Maybe his price drops. That World Series really hurt him. But then again, I don't think that the Dodgers can sign Hugh Darvish and realistically get it over with the Dodger fans. I think the Dodger fans are still hurt by that Game 7 from Hugh Darvish, and I don't think they're going to get over that. I think when they think Hugh Darvish, they think that, and they're not going to get that out of their minds. So either you're going to wait for a Lance Lynn or not wait, but you're going to either try to go for a Lance Lynn, Alex Cobb, or hope that Jake Arrieta's price goes down, because if Jake Arrieta's price can go down and they can find a way to shed some payroll, then the Dodgers are going to be in business. Now, what the Dodgers really need to do is, they do need to focus on those guys, but I think shedding payroll is the main thing here first. If you shed payroll here during the winter meetings, don't know how you're going to get somebody to feed or how you're going to feed anybody those contracts. But if you can find a way to shed some payroll here and there and potentially make enough money to get a Arrieta or a Lance Lynn, which I don't think you really need to make that much room to get him or Cobb. Up to you. They do need another bullpen guy. Quite honestly, I think you now have to go after Wade Davis or Greg Holland. Greg Holland is cheap, but not going to be super cheap. And maybe he could be the eighth inning guy for a good Dodger bullpen that has Kenley Jansen and that has a few other guys in there with Zingrani, Watson. So we'll see. We will see on that. Now, Seattle is the next team. The reason why I mentioned Seattle here is because they were all in on Ohtani. They traded D. Gordon to make more room to get more money for Ohtani. That did not happen. Clearly, they thought that they had a legitimate shot, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. And you have a team that's aging and that's starting to get to either the middle of their careers or they get towards the end of their careers, and that's Cruz, Cano, Felix. Those guys are starting to get a little older. They're not getting any younger, and you need to start making those big moves now and be aggressive now. Now, whether that's signing Hugh Darvish or Jake Arrieta, I think that that's what they need to do. I would be more comfortable signing Hugh Darvish than Jake Arrieta, only because I think he's established with the American League West. He knows his way in and out of it. I think he's more comfortable in the American League facing American League hitters than he is National League hitters. He does have a couple of things that are wrong with his mechanics that the Dodgers tried to fix, and it apparently came back in the World Series. So, it's a little scary. It's a little scary thought to see that Hugh Darvish is going on a decline right now as he's entered his free agent market. But you know what? You have to take that chance and hope that he can be everything that you expected him to be beforehand and currently. And this team has underperformed over the past couple of years anyways. King Felix didn't perform well last year. Cano had an awful second half, though the numbers look good. He didn't have that great of a second half. The only consistent guy has been Cruz. Zunino had a breakout year. You got to hope that Zunino has a good year. And James Paxton had a breakout year, but we don't know if that's going to be the James Paxton of this year. I hope it is. I believe that it is, but we'll see when it comes down to it. I think that they need to get a guy like a guy like Hugh Darvish, and they need to go after a closer. Steve Cishek is not going to cut it. They need a Greg Holland. They can get Greg Holland, and they can get Hugh Darvish. I'm telling you right now, I believe that the Seattle Mariners are in place for a second wildcard spot more so than the Twins and the Los Angeles Angels, who just got a Shohei Ohtani. I'll sit here and I'll tell you that right now, because I believe that King Felix can bounce back. He's a pitcher. He's not a hard thrower. He is a pure pitcher. James Paxton is a hard thrower, but he still is young and he can throw hard. He has a good sinker, good fastball, nasty slider as well. And if you can have Greg Holland closing games in the back end of your bullpen, can't go wrong with that. They didn't use him much last year because he was coming off of Tommy John surgery, so he's had pretty much 2 years to kind of rest up and relax that arm, and that arm should be ready to go multiple innings or go for an extra 10 or 15 appearances and see what you can get out of that. I think you can get him maybe 2-3 years, that $30 million, maybe $25 million if you can get that low. But they need to make a move. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Or even signing on Eric Hosmer. To me, they need something here, because you can't, like I said, you just can't go into this thinking, hey, this is what it's going to be. You just can't. Now, the last thing I want to sit here and talk about are just a couple of teams that to me, I think that they're set, or they need to make some adjustments. Now, the Angels do need another starting pitcher and a closer, in my mind. Like I said, Holland, Davis, whoever, you're going to have to figure it out. As for the Yankees need a third baseman and a starting pitcher. I already said that. And if they can get those two things, then to me, they're going to be complete favorites to win not only the American League East, but the American League pennant. So that's that. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's all you guys need to know for the winter meetings. These teams need to make their moves and make them now. And the Cubs are primed and set to win the pennant as of right now. The way that you look at the roster and how it's constructed, nobody has a better, at least rotation-wise to me, no one has a better rotation other than maybe the Nationals and the National League. But the Nationals just can't ever seem to get over the hump. So I'm not sold on the Nationals anymore. And the Dodgers don't have another guy that they can throw out there other than Rich Hill and Alex Wood, which are decent guys, but they're not to the degree of a Quintana or a Lester, in my opinion. So they're going to have to figure it out. The Dodgers are going to have to figure it out to see if they're going to be able to make it back to the World Series. So anyways, guys, if you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like down below. I went a little bit over than what I wanted to, but you know what? It's fun to just talk, in my opinion, especially when it comes to baseball. I love baseball, so I love talking about it. But anyways, guys, yes, once again, if you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like down below. Comment as well. Let me know which team is going to make a big splash in the winter meetings, and which of those teams that I listed do you think could make a big move, and if not, a mystery team that I didn't mention or that we just aren't thinking of. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe and share the video. And if you guys haven't checked out my Giancarlo Stanton video, once again, check it out. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten so far from the Giancarlo Stanton video that I made yesterday, or 2 days ago now, because this is going up on Monday. I'm very humble, very, very humble. So thank you once again for that, and I'll see you guys later.